Ransom's name is?
General capital project.
When I open up the workshop, I'll do
And the real simple way is it's federal money that we've been given, but I'll give more detail. State money, that's state money, that was state money, okay. Okay. Nope. Just if I forget to ask you, for you ladies say, Mr. Shaver, did something you want to ask me?
No, you got it.
Adam will help me remember.
John, there's no water line.
What is that plan condition says eight?
That way, everything's down Tellico Lake Park.
He won't be here.
What's that?
He won't be here. He won't be here.
I know. 1, 2, 3 out.
Well, I told him. I asked him. He said he won't be here. She had a bad day.
All right.
Oh, that's right. Let's go, Henry.
Well, you got Buddy with Sheriff.
Fully on Buddy and the Sheriff, hit the
Sheriff
yeah. Let's go.
Sheriff-elect.
Hey, Sheriff-elect.
I said I'd have put 3 buckets on, still wouldn't have had enough.
Who wants to get going?
I'm ready. Buddy, you ready?
Mr. Chairman, at this time we will call the Budget Committee meeting to order for public hearing for the 22-23 budget. Do we have a sign-in sheet?
Yes, we do. One person, Pat Hunter.
Holy dude.
It wouldn't be complete, Pat.
My name is Pat Hunter, and I would like to address the Budget Committee with regards to the proposed budget. This proposed budget includes pay raises for commission, employees, an increase in health insurance, tax relief, and other expenditures, but what it does not include is the property tax freeze. And that is for residents with a base income of about $40,000. The other thing that it does not include, which I think is very important, and I hope that monies or funds are allocated for this purpose, and it is this courthouse annex itself. It does not have security, and I'm talking about at commission meetings, we do not have an officer present. Back before 2007, the sheriff always attended. And during contentious meetings, there has been an officer here. But I think since it is a courthouse annex, it is an extension to the courthouse, that it also falls under the purview of security for the courthouse. The grand jury also meets here from time to time, but I think that we should have an officer present during meetings. I think there should be an officer sometimes when we're talking about, and I think I've heard some of the officials talk about, they feel at times unsafe. I'm not talking about something such as the monitor that everybody has to leave their vehicle, or people should be able to come into this facility. But on the other hand, if officials have problems with certain citizens that are disruptive to their process, whether it's getting tags or anything else, I think there should be an officer present. Also, we handle a lot of money, so I think that's an issue too. But since funds are allocated for security at the courthouse annex or the courthouse, that this should also be included. It would be nice to have lighting and security outside as well. There are no cameras outside. So those are my concerns. I think all in all, you've done an excellent job with the budget. I am a little bit disappointed that this will also mean for my neighbors in Lenore City a 3-cent property tax increase in shifting some of the pennies from the education debt to the rest of the budget. So I do have a concern about them, and I'm sure you'll hear from them also. But, you know, I know you have a difficult time or a difficulty trying to get all of the various budgets addressed, but those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. No further comments on the budget hearing? Buddy, I'll turn it back to you and Tracy.
Any other comments? Anybody else want to speak on the budget? This time, the budget meeting, I'll adjourn the budget meeting at this time. George, Jerry's yours, Mr. Chairman.
Do we need to vote to adjourn?
I have a public hearing, no.
Okay.
No.
So we're done.
We are done. We are
Mr.
adjourned.
Chairman, I think Ms. Blair and I think Mr. Bradshaw both are leaving. Before Ms. Blair leaves, I've got an item on the agenda later tonight about potentially doing an addition on the back of the county building for storage and maybe an office or two or something like that. But before Tracy gets gone, I had this conversation with her earlier as to where would be the best place to get the money. I have no idea what it'll cost. These things tend to get out of control if you're not careful. I'm gonna say a couple of $100,000 because most of it, again, is gonna be nothing but almost a warehouse type storage building. But I asked Tracy about the money, and we've got $495,000 from last year's state COVID money that's still sitting in capital projects. And she said that would be a very appropriate place to get whatever money from we need to do it. So I just wanted to get her on the record for that before she got going. Is that correct?
Also,
Okay.
I have just one minor change on my item number 6. Instead of the wording resolution, it should be recommendation. Okay.
And I'll withdraw number 4 altogether, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, hang on. Okay. I'll call to order the Loudon County Commission Workshop for June 20th, 2022. We have 3 people signed up to speak. First up is Joe Alexander. Step to the podium.
I'll reserve my comments, if I could be excused, I appreciate that.
Fair enough. Next up is Pandora Veland.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Pandora Vreeland, Loudon County resident. I would like to follow up on the Solid Waste Commission. At the last meeting, Commissioner Van Shaver had asked for a copy of the existing contract with red line of what would be proposed that would change that in the form of one document. I would like a copy of that if it's available to the public.
I haven't gotten it from them yet.
You haven't gotten it yet,
I
okay?
didn't get anything from Stevens or whomever.
Okay, any anticipated date on that?
I haven't heard any update at all.
Okay. I would also like to know, after the meeting, the attorney indicated that he had taken about 6 pages of notes based on comments from this committee and other people that came up to speak. What would be the status of those notes? Have you received any action on those notes that were taken at all?
Not that I'm aware of.
I haven't.
You're aware of any on the
What do you mean, no? What do you mean by-
The attorney was indicating that someone directly asked him a question about, you know, if he,
I think he took notes to bring back to our meeting, just to discuss at our meeting.
okay.
I
because
don't understand what your question is.
My question was, there were quite a bit of items that I had pointed out that I thought we needed to review in the contract, and other people had thought needed to be reviewed as well again. And he said he took 6 pages of notes, so I was kind of hoping there would be a readout on what his thoughts or the committee's thoughts were about those notes that he took.
Yeah, you'll have to talk to him about that, because I don't understand that. I don't see that that was his agenda to bring those back here. I think his agenda was to take those notes and take them to our meeting, and we discuss them at our meeting.
Do you know anything about that contract, where the
I
original
know
contract?
I know he's in the process of getting all that together to
Is?
send.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Pandora. Blake Shelton,
He's a singer, isn't he?
He is. There he is.
you got a sing for us?
Cut loose and let it go, man.
My name is Blake Shelton. I'm a 20-plus year resident of Lenore City and currently live in District 2. I work for Ava Data as the site manager for our blockchain data center on Hickory Creek Road. I'm one of just a few of the residents of East Tennessee that are employed at the facility and call this region home. As Ava Data has come to Loudon County in East Tennessee because it is a great place to do business. And thanks to LCUB, we're able to take advantage of affordable electricity rates while knowing that TVA's nuclear power plants and hydroelectric dams don't cause air pollution. Ava Data is a subsidiary of Grid Infrastructure, an American infrastructure company based in Cincinnati, Ohio. The global economy is changing rapidly, and our founder decided that the emerging sector of cryptocurrency needs to speak with an American accent. And at Ava Data, we're helping East Tennessee and the United States claim a seat at the table as more and more Americans take advantage of Bitcoin and the peer-to-peer financial network it is enabling. Last week, Commissioner Shaver paid a visit to our site to see for himself what our operations look and sound like. Commissioner Shaver, I wish you would have knocked on our door. We would have been happy to show you around and offer you an offer I want to extend to every member of the council, of the commission. We're very proud of the work we do at Ava Data. We employ local people from East Tennessee like me and pay local property taxes. As Ava Data grows, the benefits we generate for Loudon County and the region will grow too. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have.
I'm just curious, how many Bitcoins can you mine in one day once you're fully up and running? This is just curiosity questions for me.
I don't have an answer for that. It's a lot.
So once you're up and running, how much electricity will you use every day?
We currently have 2 contracts with LCUB for 11 megawatts each, so we have 22 megawatts,
Okay.
and with an anticipation of 20 more. So anywhere between 42 and 44 megawatts.
So once you're up and running completely, what will your monthly LCD bill be? Roughly.
$750,000.
Okay.
Monthly?
Monthly.
I got another question. I'll ask it off the record later.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you looking for a job?
No.
okay, that
I'm not.
concludes the public comments. Before I turn it over to Susan Husky, Harold Duff has brought a guest with him, his grandson sitting in the back to take a look at government in action, so welcome, Lance. And his girlfriend sitting next to him.
What a great date night.
Carter.
Susan Husky.
Lance's son, Carter.
Carter,
It's
What's
Lance's
that?
son.
Carter, Lance's son's.
Okay. Susan, come on up here and tell us about the change in purchasing director's threshold.
Did you say change in stress levels?
It's a lot of stress.
State legislation passed, back a couple weeks ago, a new bid threshold, to $50,000, and for Loudon County to adopt that, it has to be approved by a county commission. The purchasing committee met today, and the committee did approve it, so we're asking it to be on the agenda for the next commission meeting for consideration.
We just put it on.
Included in that, the state law allowed for a 40% to be on a quote basis, and so I'm asking that the county's purchasing policy, right now it stands anything from up to $10,000 requires I think it's $2,500, up to $10,000 requires 3 written price quotes. And so I'm asking for it to be $15,000 up to $50,000. Be 3 written price quotes, and then anything over 50 would go to the bid market, would be the new bid threshold.
And that, the 15 is actually above and beyond what the state requires, because they just require 40%, which would be 20,000.
Thank you.
It's on there for next Monday.
Thank you.
Purchasing voted unanimously for that, right?
Pardon?
Purchasing was all in favor of that?
Yes. Thankfully, thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
All right, I'm up next on the Tellico Village grant for sewer and water. And I have to tell you, in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten a PhD in landfills, sewer and water. But here's the status. Bob Bowman could not answer the questions about the legalities and all the formalities. So he recommended a Bill Coley, another attorney. And I've had a couple conversations with him. POA has agreed to reimburse the county for Bill Coley's services. Now, he knows TDEC and these grants backwards and forwards. So I spoke to him today at length. POA has given us an indemnification. They're gonna pay for his services. John LaCroix from TDEC wrote the mayor a letter saying this fits the TDEC grant that they put together to a T. Now, the issues left to be decided, and Clayton Taylor is sitting in the room here. The question is, it'll go through the county, and Tracy said she has no problem with that. We've got ourselves indemnified. They'll pay his fee. It's a grant where you do the work up front, and then they approve it and give you your money, less the 35% match, which the POA is going to cover. The only issue left is somebody has to supervise the work. Now, there's nobody, at least on this commission in the county, that deals with sewer and water. The POA has Jacob Engineering, and Clayton's sitting back there. They're the engineering company. Bill Coley didn't have a bit of problem with them. And he said if they put that in the agreement, then he's fine with it. He's working it up now. He hopes to have it to me at the end of the week for next Monday. As a side note, we're not the only county doing this, and I'll tell you what he told me. He's currently doing the one for KUB in Knoxville for Knox County. It's the same situation, where they approve the money for sewer and water, but Knox County doesn't own the system, KUB does, so he's doing the same thing. So there's absolutely no reason why it can't be done. He said there's no risk at all. He's got it covered. He will have the paperwork. I'm gonna ask that we put it on the agenda next Monday night and we vote to approve it.
Okay.
Any questions?
I have some questions.
Sure.
Has, I know that Clayton, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You had said you had talked to Loudon Utilities about this and they're on board and they know all about this, cause this is gonna affect Loudon Utilities too.
We have been in touch with their engineers and stuff, and I know we need to speak with them more. What I'm doing right now is I have Adam Byard with Jacobs Engineering putting together the complete engineering and design for this project, and then we will sit down and meet with Loudon Utilities.
Well, don't you think that maybe you should have been talking to them a little bit sooner before you all got before you do your plans, so that they know what to expect also, or, I mean.
Well, we have been speaking with Larry Joe. He knows exactly what's going on, so.
And this is a plus for Loudon Utilities, because at times they can't take the flow, so they have to shut it down, so this will help.
And that's is our goal, is we're going to build, the only way it would affect LUB is we're wanting to build a sewer holding tank. That way, when LUB is having problems of getting sewer out of their system, they can call, which Larry Joe calls us when we're having big grant events. And he'll say, hey, you know, we're having a little trouble. So we'll build a tank, and at any time, if he's having a problem taking on sewer from us, we can put it straight into our bypass tank and hold it to where we're not trying to send it to them and cause them a problem.
What, what did you say, as I don't make sure I understand correctly, what did you say that the total cost of this is gonna be?
Well, it's gonna be probably $2.5 million now, by the time we put in a 1,000,000 gallon, sewer storage tank, and then upgrade some pump sizes.
Okay,
But when I get that proposal from, Jacobs Engineering, I do not have a problem at all with sharing it with y'all.
okay, but
And
did
the
you not
grants
say,
for
did
4
you not,
million.
and the what?
Grants for 4 million. Task got 1.9, there's 2.1 left. That's all that's left.
That,
Okay, but didn't your partner say something about by the time you do the whole project or something, it'll be at 11 million?
water and sewer will be at about $13 million, yes ma'am,
Okay, so right now, you're just doing
sewer.
sewer. Okay, so what is your proposal later on the water?
I have a complete sewer, a water model study done, and LUB is upgrading, some water volumes coming to us. So when we went in negotiation with LUB, we, as Telco Village, are going to put in some, water booster pump stations and upgrade some line sizes and stuff.
And that's what you will be doing to get to the 11 million?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Sewer's all LUB, it's not TAS, it's just.
That's correct.
Yeah, sewer is all LUB.
So I'm asking to put this on the agenda next Monday night. It will help out 7,600 people in Telco Village. And I think it's something we should help them out with. The balance of the 11 million will be on Telco Village. Thank you, Clayton. Commissioner Shaver.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'll hit the first one first. There it is. Talking with Susan Harrison and even with the Agri Extension office back there, Susan's in desperate need of storage for all of her election machines and stuff. If you've been in that little back room and seen it, it's not quite adequate. The ideal is to show the other one. There's two different options. There's option one, would be just a straight,
I like the
Sorry.
other one.
just straight down like that. Real simple, real easy, probably the most cost effective. Option two would be have a L on the end of it up there, and either option, the upper end is gonna give the ag extension people more space out of their office. That adjoins their current offices up there. So the first step, of course, we have to get the engineer people, we have to find out estimates and what it would cost, what can be done. There's 4 AC units back there that'll have to be moved, there's a gas main back there that'll have to be moved. I met down there last week with Brian Brown, he said his people can do all of that sort of stuff, so be cost savings involved. He was kinda like I was, it's a fairly simple, straightforward type of operation. Susan will have a door out of her office that goes into it where one of her windows is. Then on the back side of the parking lot, there will be a roll-up garage door so that on election nights and when they're doing their stuff, they can back their trailer right up to the garage door and unload stuff right into the building instead of having to come all the way through with everything like they do. So I don't know that there's even any action necessary. That's why I wanted Tracy to mention that part of it. And I think, Adam, somebody said a minute ago that we can piggyback off of the same people that are doing the addition on the library for the record storage,
Ms.
so.
Husky said that.
Ms. Husky, okay.
She told me, I was just repeating
All right.
her.
So is this not gonna be any other kind of storage? It's only gonna be for the election commission?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
the add-on for the ag department?
Yes, ma'am.
But aren't they out of storage space?
Yes, ma'am. And when Susan moves out of where she's at, Tracy then can have all of where Susan's at now. It also has a door to the hallway. The election stuff the election machine stuff has to be secure and have to be,
Right,
kept from anybody else being around and that sort of stuff. So all of where she's at in that little room beside her office right now, then that would turn into general storage for the county building.
this is where Susan, as in
Do you know where all of her voting machines are right now?
that
If you
little
go in
room
her
right
office, you
beside
turn
you?
right, yes, it goes all the way back to the back there, that back door where you come out in the parking lot.
So that will no longer be there, or you're saying that's gonna be
That will
there?
be there.
It will be there for whomever wants it then.
Yeah, it'll be totally.
When Susan moves her stuff out, there's you a whole new set of storage for the county building people.
You say Miss Blair needed the storage?
Yeah.
She needs space, everybody down there needs some space to
Is
put
that gonna
stuff.
be enough for Susan Husky and for
Yes, for a lengthy amount of time it would be,
Tracy?
yes.
But that doesn't solve our records
No,
no,
that's
storage
the-
problem, I mean.
At another
that's-
date, we're gonna talk about going on the other side of the parking lot back there, and Buddy just left, but we're not gonna do his metal buildings like he wants, but we'll do some nice, secure buildings back here on the back side of the parking lot back there and make different cubicles where each one can have their own space. That's out there, but the immediate need is we gotta get Susan some space for our voting machines.
And we still have the library for the historical.
Yeah, that's,
No,
That's
that's
separate.
totally different
That's
Yeah.
than
totally
what,
separate. You are correct.
it's all in the works. The pudding's being made right now. So ultimately, I don't know if there needs to be any action. I'm gonna ask that it be John Goddard, Susan Harrison, Brian Brown, and myself will be whatever would mean a committee. I don't know why we have committees for this, but that'd be the committee to put on that one. Susan and John will be the ones there that'll be seeing to it and that sort of stuff.
is
And-
this gonna give an office area for soil conservation?
Very
since
possibly,
that
yes.
Falls in with ag department?
That's what the L shape up there would be, or the straight shape, whichever one we go with. So many feet of the upper end of that building, whichever level goes, will come into their building, and they'll have additional space out of that.
Perfect.
We just need a professional to come in and say, we got roof lines to tie in. The straight one is real simple. You got a shed roof, you could have a membrane roof. I mean, it would be super, super simple. Making the L down there, you change your roof lines somewhat. It'll be a little more difficult, but not that big a deal. It'll cost more money, but that's why we need professionals to come in and say what we can and can't do. But what I really like was Brian Brown's bunch can do a whole lot of the stuff, and we not have to pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, my only concern is that we make sure that we cover soil conservation. And
That's,
I like this one right there while you're I mean,
well,
you've got an opportunity to build I don't,
Me too.
yeah, I don't
I
wanna
think we
build
have to.
less. I think you need to build that.
well, again,
I
it's
don't
all,
see why you just don't carry it on out just a little bit with your L shape too.
Well, I thought that too, when I first saw it, I thought, just take the whole
But I
area
see what
there.
he's taking,
Yeah.
but he's stopping at the roof line.
stopping at the roof line, stopping the parking lot, and there's a main drain that goes out right there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gotta carry everything under the road back there, so we don't wanna,
Go near it.
and we can build 10,000 square feet. I'm trying to come in here and build what we need for a cost efficient amount of money.
I'm with you. I got you.
Fine. Okay.
So if there's, does anybody care if John and Susan are on the committee and myself and whomever, do we need to vote on that, or can they start pursuing it?
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem.
John, see if you can get some block laid tomorrow. Anybody got any more questions on buildings?
Yes. Some additional parking in the back has also been discussed with me as well, so I don't know if we need to talk to Billy Joe about that, or I don't know
Well,
if that's the way to go about it.
We'll
but-
also talk about when we get ready to do the other buildings on the back side and see what we need.
There's a lot of flat ground back there for.
Yeah,
We need some parking back there.
right.
That's what he just
Yeah.
said.
Alright.
We'll work on that. One bite, we'll eat the elephant one bite at a time. All right, anybody else?
Okay, Bitcoins.
Get her done, John. All right, the Bitcoin, you've heard the gentleman speak about Bitcoins. We have a Bitcoin operation on Hickory Creek Road in the 5th District in the Hickory Creek Commercial Business Park. I'm not even gonna try to talk about what it is. You can Google it yourself. Good luck on that. That's irrelevant to me what they do. My first calls were, we've got an issue up here. We've got a noise problem, a serious noise problem. So I start trying to read up on it, find out what it is, go back and look at the minutes. I actually was here at the planning commission meeting when it was presented. And it was presented by a fellow who was representing another guy. Ultimately, what he stood there and told the planning commission he was presenting was a data storage facility. Data storage. I think you were here that night too, Bill. I think that was back maybe in September. I don't remember exactly what it was. So there was a few questions asked about traffic, paving the gravel, this sort of thing, but I don't know anybody really knew what a data storage center was. Well, it turns out it's not a data storage center, it's a Bitcoin mining. And y'all probably already been annoyed enough. But when I got the call, I thought, well, I need to go up and see. This is what you got. And it will vary in sound, sometimes louder, sometimes less. That's 12 units of 40 that were running the day I was up there. And I did speak to whoever the general manager, some guy I talked to up there. I didn't see a door to knock on, so I spoke to people while I was there and just was trying to get an understanding of what it was. So we have that problem that's there now. Washington County had the same company and ultimately filed a lawsuit against them because they did the same thing, came in and presented as a data center, and then went somewhere out into the country and built this thing, and the people were very unhappy with it. Washington County sued them and won in court and has now settled with them. They'll get to operate for so much longer, but they're gonna have to relocate. At this point, there's 20, you can't see them all, I won't complain about that, but you've got a picture in front of you too. There's 20 of the units already up and running, and they're essentially those storage containers like we're all seeing pop up a lot of places in yards and businesses. But there's storage containers, one on top of the other. So each one of those cubicles you see is 2 operations. So that's 20 that's operating up there at the top, and you can see the concrete pads to do 20 more. So there's gonna be 40 total when they're done. Like the gentleman said, it's a high use of electricity. That doesn't interest me. What my concern is complaints from the people above and the people in the area of the noise. I'm not sure what we do about the one that's here now. I'm gonna propose that there be no more allowed in Loudon County until we have a much better understanding of what Bitcoin is and what it's gonna do in the areas it comes into. Because right now, they can just kind of land anywhere. This is leased property. There's another entity that owns the property that was gonna be putting a wrecker service there. And I think Bitcoin, if I remember the meeting right, the Bitcoin folks approached them about leasing this back section of their property. And it's right under a LCUB substation, so that gives them direct access to power. So right now, maybe it's tolerable, but when you add 40 more or 20 more in there and there's 40 of them going, I don't know but what we wind up in a lawsuit just like Washington County did. But to prevent any more of them happening, I think at the next meeting, we vote to allow no Bitcoin, crypto mining operations of any kind until our planning commission has had an opportunity to learn, understand where they should be, where they shouldn't be, and that sort of stuff. So that's what I know about Bitcoin mining.
Isn't Avalon nearby?
Avalon's well within there, except the Avalon's not as big a problem as Brandywine. It's straight up on top of the hill. It's a residential community up on top. And, but the people in the business park are complaining mostly right now because it's just so loud, and it'll vary. The way I understood it, and I'll defer back to Mr. Shelton there, the way I understand it, the harder the fans have to run, the louder it gets. The cooler the weather, the less they run, the less. But the hotter it gets, the louder, the more the fans run, that's what causes sound. Now in modern technology like we have today, I don't know how you can't have a fan that doesn't sound like jet engines going off, but that's neither here nor there to me either. So, what do y'all think? It could happen in any district.
I have a question for Mr. Shelton. You know, this past week it was really hot, and they were asking us to conserve electricity, turn your heating or your AC up to 78 in your house and stuff. You're gonna be the largest energy consumer in Loudon County. How hard is it to take this thing offline when we have high demands in energy so people don't have blackouts, just so you can stay on?
We actually are in an agreement with TBA to shut down.
And what triggers that, I guess, is my question.
TBA calls and we have 30 minutes to
TVA or LCUB?
TBA,
So you're on a controlment system?
IP30.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you put a roof on it?
It's not there.
It, in its current state, that's not the way it's designed.
But there are other places where they have done sound mitigation on it. I haven't had a chance to read your letter. I think I saw a word like that in there, but I've done the research, and other places have put up these sound barrier walls and things like that. Sounds very expensive, but that, I mean, I'm sure you have to understand this same Red Dot or Red Ball or whoever it is, they're the same ones in Washington County that did exactly the same thing here. So this is not, we didn't realize it kind of stuff.
I suggest you read the FAQs then.
I will there when we get opportunity, I'll probably stop right this minute, but again, the man stood right where you were standing right there and said, oh, it's a data center. Oh, yeah, we got 8 employees, there's gonna be no traffic, don't need asphalt. Were you here, Mr. Buckles, the night he presented back September?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I mean, nobody said anything, this is a data mining business, it's gonna make airplanes sound quiet. Share, help you, I mean, you,
I'm Stephanie Midget, I'm with Grid as well, so I can kind of step in and help out here, yes.
so is this Red Ball, is this,
Red Dog is a
Red Dog.
subsidiary of Grid, just like Ava Data is,
Okay.
yes.
and tell me the main guy's name,
The owner, the CEO,
Yes.
Trey Kelly.
try another name.
That's not the gentleman that came before.
No, it was a representative of the gentleman that came, he called his name at the meeting.
That was it's a different individual, but he's not the CEO.
What's his name?
I'm not familiar with I'm not sure which meeting you're asking about. Are you asking about a meeting that happened up at Red Dog or?
I'm talking about a meeting when the man stood here and said, I'm representing, boom.
That would have been Todd Napier.
That's it, Todd Napier. He's the same one that's named in the Washington County lawsuit and that sort of stuff. That's the same name that pops up everywhere. Okay,
The application before the Board of Zoning Appeals calls it a high-density data center for blockchain processing, which is the process that's
yeah, that
happening.
part wasn't on the agenda.
It's on
High
the
data center is what it says, that's all it said.
I can't speak to what the agenda said, but that's on the application
Okay.
and what was approved. At
Yeah.
both the September meeting and then the November meeting as well.
And the minutes don't reflect any of that.
I know the September minutes do, I couldn't find the November meeting.
I've got them all.
Okay,
I've got all the minutes.
I believe it.
I've got you covered on that part. All I would say is you have a problem, you're creating a problem for others. I would suggest you find a way to try to mitigate that problem. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you make $1 billion a year. I don't care what you do. It doesn't make no difference. But when it starts affecting Commissioner Duff also represents 5th District. When it starts affecting our constituents in a negative way, then we get involved.
Absolutely.
And
I
certainly, we're
completely
not
understand.
looking to have a lawsuit or anything like that. You're there now. I don't know what the market about Bitcoin is doing right now. It doesn't sound too good, but that's neither here nor there to me either. But bigger than you is me to say to these folks, all of us are susceptible to having this same thing land in your neighborhood. And until we know better and what it's about, I think, for lack of a better word, we need a moratorium on this stuff through the planning office to say no more.
Commissioner Shaver, I do ask for your assistance, because we visited all the businesses in the business park and talked with them, and none of them were willing to share any concerns to our face. So if you would love to connect us with those people, you know.
Yeah, I
we wanna
probably
talk to
won't.
them.
Yeah, I probably won't share with you who contacted me. How about
Okay.
that?
Well, we'll make sure to follow up, because we do want to be a good neighbor.
Well, unless you
We've
fix your
taken-
noise, I don't know how you solve that problem.
We've taken some lessons learned from the situation at Red Dog. We're gonna be installing 24/7 sound monitoring on site, so we'll have more data available about the exact sound levels coming from the site. Additionally, we have sound dampening louvers on each pod, and so like you mentioned, there's times where it can be louder, sometimes it's quieter, and those can be adjusted. So it's a work in progress to find a good sound level, and we're willing to work with our neighbors as well as the commission.
I'd say that would go a long way to solve that problem for sure.
Do you know how many decibels it produces? When you get full capacity, what the decibels coming out of there are gonna be?
Well, our sound readings are about 70 dB from the fence line. I believe that may be about where your recording was taken.
I was up at the substation,
Okay,
is where I set up at.
right directly behind at the
Correct.
substation.
Correct.
It's, if you go behind the substation, you hear more interstate and truck stop noise, since we're right below the TA, it's almost white noise just underneath that.
Does Ava Data or any subsidiaries plan to expand in Loudon County?
Not that I'm aware of.
Can you spell your name again for me?
Sure, it's also on the handout
Is it
here.
on there? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I'll ask that this be added to the agenda for the 27th to take a vote to put a temporary halt to any more, just in case they get any more application between now and till till Jim and his office can figure out what's appropriate. Some things are only allowed in heavy industrial areas. Some things are allowed in C2 areas. Some things are only allowed in C1 areas. We'll get their feedback and see if they can tell us where they think, if anywhere, Bitcoin mining operations are appropriate for Loudon County, is kind of what I'm thinking.
Where are you doing this where people are not complaining about the noise? And how are you mitigating it?
We also have a facility in Union County, and there were some initial complaints there, but we've been able to work with that community, just like we were able to work with the community in Washington County. You know, our hope had been to avoid litigation, but ultimately that's where it wound up, and, what wound up happening is we came to an agreement with the county, and it worked out well for all parties, you know. We're gonna move to, an industrial park, just like there, we're gonna have the continuous sound monitoring, in place as well, and still for them, you know, their community will benefit from our property taxes, from the jobs, and the high electric bills that we pay. So we have found ways to work with other communities, and we're willing to do that here.
That sounds great.
Sir, step to the podium and tell us your name.
My name's Ty Ross, I'm the city manager of Loudon and general manager of Loudon Utilities. I wasn't sure what the process was to be recognized. I know we were talked about indirectly earlier. I wasn't recognized. Mr. Clayton from TVPOA, he was recognized, so I certainly heard him out. But I've reached the point in this meeting where I felt it necessary to raise my hand because I'm not sure what your procedures are to be able to speak and be heard at your meetings. I'll offer some edification to Bitcoin mining and what they mean to local power distributors and electric departments. We are a large electric provider here in Loudon County, and we're well aware of the Bitcoin mining industry. We're approached on a regular basis about locating Bitmine perhaps in our district. These requests usually come from economic development agencies, whether they be through the state or locally here through Mr. Qualls. Generally, where these top operations fit, to bring one in would be problematic for LUB because of the way our load is distributed, and they are a high power user. So where you generally see these things drop and fall are in rusted up communities, extreme rural communities, poverty-stricken communities where they're experiencing massive load reduction. Essentially, they've got substations that are underutilized or perhaps dormant. And so they've got capacity to spare. So that's where you see these type of things. Like in LUB, we are perfectly busy, serving the wide array of customers we have, including industrial clients. I'm not going to speak to what LCUB does, but it is a balancing act in finding, where these things can exist and where the loads can bear them properly. And so our stance, because we're a growing utility, we're growing at 1% to 2% a year. We don't have any load reduction because of the unique nature of the Loudon system and our necessity in serving our industrial mills clients. It's not a good fit for LUB. From an economic development standpoint, our view is that they're not great job creators. You don't see hundreds of jobs coming with these projects. There's also the noise factor. It is a factor. I think it's something to be considered through your planning commission. I think your planning commission, if you saw one of these in Loudon County, essentially the first question asked is does your utility want this?
Obviously they did.
Obviously
Well,
they did.
LUB does not.
No, LCUB did though.
LUB does not. But if LCB does, I think they deserve the cooperation to hear out the what and why. Now, within your planning commission, they have the ability to provide buffers and different elements to abate nuisances. And I've had conversations with this very company about their ability to do that. And the same sound barriers that you see installed on interstates can be put around these facilities, and that will deaden sound tremendously. It's an extra cost on their part, but it's something you may want to consider through your planning commission. I just put that out as a helpful tool. Next, I want to go back to the water projects that were discussed. And Chairman Cohen, you said that I would be invited to a future workshop to discuss water projects that would be helpful to LUB. I never received that invitation.
We have, you're talking about the ARFA money. We haven't done anything with that. It's just sitting there. So you'll be welcome to come then.
I want to talk about the particularities of these two grants that you're discussing now, because I'm at a little bit of an information deficit about where these monies are coming from and why it's being directed towards TAS and TDPOA.
It was directed to the county,
But which bucket is it coming from?
TDEC to the county,
The TDEC grant application?
yes. And you receive funds too, I understand, from TDEC.
We did, everyone did.
And
Everyone did.
this is the allocation that came to Loudon County, and it was up to the county to determine the utilization. TAS came in, POA came in.
TAS and POA were invited to your meetings.
So you're saying LUB was not invited at all?
No. I had face-to-face conversations with my mayor and my chairman, Don Campbell, with your county executive, face-to-face conversations about the distribution of monies that could be helpful for all Loudon residents, whether you were an LUB customer, an LCUB customer, any type of customer. And then in those conversations, we were very adamant about not excluding TDPOA because we felt like there were some holistic solutions out there that could benefit the entire county.
TAS, and I sit on the board of TAS, Mark Clinton was aware of this and knew about the money. He made the contact with the county requesting money. We didn't go, the county didn't come over to TAS and said, would you come meet with us? We want to give you some money. Mr. Clinton, the manager, already knew about it. Would you address the commission, please?
My emails are public record.
Would you address the commission,
My
please?
emails are public record, and those emails are directed towards your chairman and your county executive about the distribution of these funds and trying to determine an equitable distribution.
Look to the
of these
front
funds.
here.
Because we all have customers. So it shouldn't matter where you live, what board you serve on, or who you're close to. The equitable distribution of these funds should be made on an objective measure based on the lines of miles of sewer, based upon number of customers, based upon flow volumes. These were the conversations that we were trying to have. These are the conversations that we denied because deals were already being struck.
It's up to the
I don't know
county
how
to
you're
make
saying
the
deals are being
decision.
struck. They came in and asked. We didn't sit here and strike
TDEC, we don't have nothing to do with this.
That's
It's
why
TDEC.
I'm real confused about your procedures, because we meet with my chairman, with my mayor, with your county executive, and so you're gonna be a part of a future workshop,
Talk to Buddy.
and you have telephone conversations with your chairman, and my telephone's a public record. Those call logs are there, that you will be invited to a future county commission workshop.
This was, what you're missing is this was designated to Loudon County, not
Correct.
Loudon City
And-
or LUB. You
With all
got
due-
your fund.
With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, the Comptroller's Office of the State of Tennessee sent out emails, document briefs, PowerPoint presentations, and videos about how these funds, how it preferred these funds be distributed. And it was to be distributed in a collaborative manner. And in fact, future grant applications with TDEC are tied to collaboration between counties and utilities.
Turn around and
It's
face
this
us.
collaboration that aids systems in total. And here's the big point we're
Excuse
missing.
me, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I'd like to point out that if he turns his back to the commission again, his time is up.
I agree, and the ship's already sailed on this. The county has made a decision. You got your funds, use your funds. Thank you.
We received $1.7 million, and we received all the sewer from Telco Village. That comes to a bottleneck at Care Inn. TDEC, because of our shrinking capacity, could, in the foreseeable future, put the city of Loudon's sewer system under a moratorium. That will impact the village, sir.
Well, they have art money too, Loudon City. Are they using it for you?
1.7 million to be spent on broadband, water, or sewer.
And what did LUB get?
The city of Loudon transferred it to LUB.
Well, let me ask a question. I'm missing something here. I sat here when Task come in, I heard his presentation.
Yeah,
I sat here when POA come in, I heard their presentation. Of course, it's all tied up with legal letters and stuff.
yeah.
But this is the money coming from the TDEC. I mean, TDEC said, okay, Loudon County gets this $4 million for water sewer infrastructure. And then the way I understood it, it was up to you, TAS, POA, whomever else, to put their application into TDEC. And then TDEC makes a decision who gets it. We don't decide who gets it. TDEC's gonna, I think there's a point system or a grade.
Scorecard. There's a
Scorecard,
yeah.
Yes,
And
sir.
they will take your scorecard and they'll determine from that who's in the biggest need and who gets. But that's TDEC's decision. It's not
I
us.
think I'm hearing him say that they were supposed to all get together and come up with a collaborative plan
That's
to
on you. That's nothing
present
to do with us.
to
Well, sir,
TDEC.
just for future direction, is it a show up, scramble, free for all? Or should I call the county executive, meet with the county executive, and call the chairman to try and initiate it?
Would it come through, buddy?
I'm really at a loss.
I guess you come in here like TAS and POA and say, hey, we'd like to make application, and we say, go make application. That's what we've done so far.
Our application's in, sir.
Then we're done.
Then what's the complaint?
So you're allocating your funds, sir.
We're not allocating anything. TDEC's gonna allocate it, Ty. We don't have a pick on who gets what. I would have figured, in my opinion, first come, first served would seem to be the way to go, but I don't want, TDEC will do however they want to. But we didn't pick anything. We didn't collaborate, we didn't do anything. The man stood there, the lady stood there, you stood there.
What's that?
You've got your application in, I don't understand your complaint. Call TDEC and
Hasn't been
say,
done
hey,
yet. It's gotta go in.
we ought to get some.
So I asked this question, Tom, a few weeks ago. So I said, LUB, LCUB, TAS, POA will all make their applications. How will those funds be distributed? And they said, based on the point system, that it would come back and recommend how those points, how that money is distributed. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on,
Yes,
is to
sir.
see how that
Yeah.
money is to be distributed to each entity.
But I was concerned about the chairman's comments earlier in the meeting that, okay, it's this much for TAS, it's this much for TVPOA, that's all our funds, it's done.
Well, Hugh's article in the News Herald said you were fine with the POA getting it.
That's not my quote.
Equitable distribution.
Equitable distribution.
Equitable, yeah, and that's my question. Once that comes back, it should be equitable distribution.
I'm not sure what that means, but I think TDEC's gonna make that decision.
TDEC will make that decision.
That's not gonna be our
We
decision.
haven't gotten any money, and neither have we given any money.
No,
And they're gonna be the final determination. If they meet their requirements, they'll grant it. They do the work. If it isn't done right, they don't get paid. That's how it works.
Well, can we enjoy the same approval and blessing from county commission for our application as the other
blessed.
two entities?
I've already applied.
Well, what is the vote? You're putting things to a vote. It's gonna be on the next agenda.
We're gonna
The vote for this is for us to be their fiscal agent for their application, because,
It's gotta come
They're
through
not
the
a-
county.
yeah.
but it's not saying that we're gonna I'm not gonna support us giving every dime we get. I want it to be, I wanna see what TDEC comes back with.
Yeah, the the POA, that's simply to help, they needed help with their application to have a way to administer the money, since it had to come through the county. And like I said, they took the steps in order to indemnify the county and meet the qualifications so that they could apply.
And we
For the
own
money.
half of TAS.
Right.
So I mean, we have an obligation to TAS, we're part owners of TAS. So that's why they came here, they had to get ours and Monroe County's permission to make application. So LUB isn't owned by Loudon County, POA's not owned by Loudon County, LCB certainly not owned by Loudon County, but TAS is. So they're unique kinda to all the rest of you, that's the only utility that we have anything to do with is TAS.
And
But like I
we've
said-
not given anybody any money. It's not up to us to
Not up.
decide who gets it.
I'm assuming TDEC will come back and say, LUB should get this much, TAS should get this much,
That would be my
and
assumption.
we would distribute it accordingly.
Or does it come,
Or
the tax
does
money
it
go straight
come
to tax?
us and then we have to
I think
distribute
it
that
comes
money?
to us.
So
Comes to the
then we
county.
have to be the
I
deciding
think
factor
TAS's
where
will
that
go
money
straight to
goes?
TAS.
No, they'll
POA
create,
has to
Straight
come to
that?
us.
Okay, it's
I
not
think-
administrative, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Cause they're qualified under the TDEC regulations, TAS, LUB, LCUB, they're qualified to go straight to it and get the money. POA is not, because they're not a public utility.
they have to come through
They're
the
private,
county.
it has to come by way of the county, but they are legally allowed to make application the way we're doing it. I've read all that now, so.
Right.
Yes, but the
But I
money
still-
will be distributed to us and then we have to
But it'll be on
distribute it to
TDEC's
them.
terms.
But it'll be their
TDEC
split.
will say who gets what, I don't think we have another word in that one.
Right.
I haven't read anything
No,
to that
I think we
effect.
need to do a little investigation and make sure, I guarantee we will make sure that you,
I encourage you to read the briefs, watch the videos. They're all on the comptroller website. Thank you.
But did the city of Loudon and Lenore City all receive,
They got money.
got money?
Same thing.
How much, Ty, do you know how much LCEB got if you got 1.7?
It's a drop in the bucket. LCD.
I just asked how much
City of
LCD
Loudon
got. I
are
just
looking
asked
at
how much-
$10 to $15 million in
I just asked
projects.
how much LCUB got.
It's not a drop in the budget, but you can talk to Mayor Akins or Shannon Littleton about that.
I'll call them up right now and check with them. I'm on the hot list for them.
Okay, Commissioner Satterfield.
Just following up on the zoning commission's recommendation to no longer allow PUDs or to give PUDs in Loudon County, the builders, and I just want to put that on the agenda for the next vote. Since the zoning commission approved it 9-2 to do away with the PUDs.
And they did discuss at their most recent planning commission meeting, ultimately they tabled, I think they want to, and I think it's a good idea, I think the planning commission wants to look at other options, possibilities, can we find areas for it, can we do this, do that, and so I think they're gonna discuss that, but we can address all those in time as they come.
Okay. You want it on the agenda, Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, last up is Tracy Blair. She went home.
I'll do it.
Go ahead.
Nothing major tonight. We had, it just never ends. Revenue's up about another $1 million as she gets ready to close out the 21-22 fiscal year.
So are we at 11 million in fund balance?
I don't know if she's prepared to say fund balance yet. It's that on paper and what's for real.
Right.
But when she gets to the end of this fiscal year, she likes to amend all of those revenue budgets to make them closer to what they look like they're gonna be. She had some expenditure budgets she amended to change those, but when it's all said and done, on the budget, it looks like it is an additional, just a tad over $1 million in revenue.
So we'll be at 10 million, or 11 million.
But now you have to remember, we spent a whole lot of extra money in this budget that wasn't originally in it, so we've gotta make up for that.
She said she got the last one in today, just hadn't had a chance to break it down, but this last month came in today and she'd be able to update the final accounting.
And that's why she left early tonight, was to go work on the budget.
But what do you mean we spent an awful lot of money out
Well,
of that?
from our original budget that we adopted in July of 2021 until the end of this year, we have amended that budget a lot. So it's hard to tell exactly how it's all gonna pan out. We increased our expenditures a lot, we increased our revenue a lot. If we're lucky, they're gonna stay close together, our revenue will be bigger than the expenditures. It all looks real good, is what it comes down to.
So we're still looking at a possibility of $11 million.
I'm not gonna say that out loud, I don't know. I wouldn't say that on her behalf for nothing, because she didn't give us an indication of that yet.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'm gonna, as I hate to do it, I'm gonna ask a question of Ms. Brewster to give us an update on solid waste and what they've kind of decided to do, not to do, gonna do.
Should've come to our meeting.
Oh, I've watched it, I watched the whole video.
Okay.
It was torturous, but I watched it, so I'm not ever
I'm
gonna,
sure you didn't watch it all, you probably fast forwarded.
I'm not gonna ask a question I don't have the answer to, so, but I just want to kind of hear a update.
I don't know what kind of update you want. The update is that we have a meeting in July. We have put it on our agenda. We will have it on our agenda to do a vote on the extension.
And it would appear y'all put a lot of emphasis on the Lenore City letter and the Loudon letter that sounded really similar when I read them, but I'm thinking maybe we need to take a vote and send a letter or take a vote of some kind to do something.
Lenore, I don't think that Loudon took a vote. They didn't take a vote. And
Yeah,
Lenore
Lenore City
City
didn't
didn't take a vote,
Yeah.
so.
Well, have it on the agenda if we need to take some kind of vote or a motion or whatever we might need to do, just go ahead and act on the agenda for the 26th.
I don't see that you need to take a vote. I think it'd be a matter of writing a letter.
We'll vote the right letter then.
Now, let me ask you, they left with a lot of concerns that we had on the extension. Were they ever considered?
Oh, yes, we talked about your concerns on the extension. Yes, we did. We talked about all your all's concerns. We also talked about, everything that we have tried for the last 8 years, everything that you've asked us to do, that we have also done too. So, we've talked about your concerns, and we talked about all the things that you have asked us in the past to do. So, we feel like we've incorporated those. So.
And there's gonna be no response back?
No, I didn't say there wasn't gonna be any response back. I didn't even say that. We have not prepared a response back, no.
Wow.
Well, there's no wow, we just haven't prepared a response back.
Well, I
We meet just like you all meet, we don't, you know.
I think you got a response from Republic though, right? You sent that to us.
Yes, because I was asked to what? Get that in documentation form.
I don't know.
Well, I was asked
I
to
know
do
that Stevens
that.
originally said he just had a verbal confirmation, but then apparently you got a written one and forwarded it to
I
us.
got a written one because I was asked then, it was just verbal, and I was asked for a written response, so I asked for a written response. So I got one, sent it out.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't bite the bullet, I see Mr. Ross has his hand up again.
I would like to recognize him, because I appreciate him being here to represent Loudon City too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've attended the past 4 or 5 solid waste disposal commission meetings.
Actually, he's been generous, he's there about every single meeting.
Thank you. It's important work they're doing, and it's important to understand the context of the work they do with the members of the commission. This is a lay board. They are advised by members of the state bar of the state of Tennessee, and they are advised by professional engineers licensed in the state of Tennessee. And there should be a tremendous deference towards the opinions. This landfill has become a political football, and there's no plan B. There's not a hint of a plan B.
I thought the city of Loudon wanted to run it at one point.
Nope.
the city of Loudon
About Plan X.
does not have the current capacity to run that type of utility. It is a
So it's
utility.
never discussed by any member of the city council?
That city councilman's a private citizen now,
Okay.
and that's not for me to speak to. But a landfill is a utility, it charges a rate to cover for the expenses of the utility as well as the closure fees. And I think it's important, two big points. It's important to think of it as a utility, not unlike LUB or LCUB. Think of it like the electric department. We have a long-term contract, a 20-year contract with TVA to supply us with generation. Think of that as analogous to the waste stream that the landfill receives to supply the rate revenue to close the darn thing and take the liability off the county. Nobody bats an eye at that long-term contract.
Well, I think the difference is those are both nonprofit organizations, and we're dealing with Republic, who is a very much for-profit organization. That's, you know.
Kevin Stevens may be the best spokesperson Republic/Santex got from the videos and what I've watched in the video and the meetings I've been to. Kevin's done well for Republic.
This contract is advantageous to the city of Loudon because it provides rate stability. There is a most favored nation clause inside of it. City of Loudon likes that.
Aren't the rates doubling?
The city,
So I don't know if there's any.
Not your
There's some-
stakeholder rates.
there's
are
some-
low.
But for these
there's
people
some
sitting out here, it
important,
does.
there's some important math involved, you know, in running a utility. It's not so much a political thing as it is a brutal math thing. There are certain rates that have to be charged to pay for the expenses. And that's been a big part of the work of this commission. There's another key point that's important to the city of Loudon. Because it's in our neck of the woods, we want to control the aesthetic appearance of the thing over time. And this thing was permitted way before the city of Loudon had ever annexed to its front gate. Okay? That's important to understand. And by contract, we limit the height of that landfill. And that protects the view shed of the city of Loudon. This contract extension further protects that view shed, which is why it's advantageous to the city of Loudon, why we encourage this body to support the extension.
How much post-closure liability does the city of Loudon have?
Under the terms of this agreement, none of the stakeholders have any post-closure liability.
Current contract.
The proposed extension.
Current contract.
The current contract, it is the three entities that will serve. So even though the county mayor signs the bond right now for the 13 million, it winds up being the three entities.
We can beat ourselves up in the past.
I'm just
There's a lot
asking
of
a
things
question,
that
yeah,
have gone on
post-closure liabilities,
with
all my
waste
question.
disposal in this community for many decades. We can beat ourselves up as long as we want, but we need to be focused on the future. This extension buys us time.
We're all gonna lose more money than we are now in the extension. We'll be spending more there than we get out of it with the extension, more so than we are now. That's, you know, that math you were talking about, you can't get away from, there's some of that math.
People view the landfill as the goose that laid the golden egg or some cash cow. The utilities aren't cash cows. They operate at a break-even level. That's the way they're intended to operate.
Pat, what did they make since they've operated that? What was the 50 million?
Since 2007, over 51.5 million.
That went to the, and every dollar that they bring in, how much does the county get?
Out of the 51.5 million, roughly 9% goes to the stakeholders. It's a 91-9 split.
So they get 91%, we get 9%. That's a heck of a golden goose
Mr.
egg.
Chairman, I say we're done.
What
What
are you
y'all
gonna-
I'll make a
what are
motion
you
to
gonna
adjourn.
do?
We already done
What are
this
you
too many
gonna do
times.
with the
Okay,
trash can?
we've got a motion to adjourn.
I say we're
You
Do I
don't
have a
like-
second?
We can't actually make a motion.
No,
We're
we'll
adjourned.
call it adjourned.
I mean, I did.
What?
That's just probably